Hello and welcome to another episode of Women in Trade, where we share some wonderful stories of women doing great things in business. Now, today's show is no exception. I'm your host, Catherine Cervasio, and with me today is fashion designer Lisa Barron. Lisa's known as a little bit of I'd say an icon in the Australian fashion industry, having launched her business way back in 1983. Welcome to the show, Lisa.
Hello, Catherine. Thanks for having me.
That's my pleasure. Now, I've been in business for 26 years and I was thinking, yes, you've been 1 year more than me, but you've been 11 years more than me. What's your story? Let's share with the viewers, first of all, how you started. I know you did some fashion study in Perth and for a couple of years, and then you trekked it over to Melbourne and you set up with just a portable sewing machine and away you went.
Yes.
Please share your story.
It's amazing how much $500 in a sewing machine, how far it can get you. So I arrived in Melbourne after leaving Perth with big dreams and not much else. So I found a little apartment in South Yarra, had a garage out the back, set that up as my empire. I went down to Victoria Market, bought a few fabrics, made some dresses, walked along Chapel Street, and after many rejections, finally went into a store, Joe Solito. Many of your viewers would know of the Solito stores back in the 80s. And he said, leave them on the rack, and if they sell, I'll give you some money. So I went back the next week and they'd all sold. So that pretty much is the start of the business. And I think because Chapel Street was so happening then, I called Chapel Street my agent because many other stores nationally would see my product in Joe's stores and then contact me. So it was a really organic growth and beginning. And
I think for our interstate and international viewers who are not familiar with Chapel Street, it's like the fashion capital, if not of Australia, but certainly of Melbourne, an iconic shopping strip that had lots and lots of fashion stores and one of our most famous retail shopping strips ever, I think, yes. Okay, so fast forward, you began in the 80s and 90s, you were dressing some wonderful supermodels, and I'm talking the original supermodels, your Linda Evangelista, Helena Christensen, and even Claudia Schiffer. How did that come about?
Oh, that was wonderful. The 90s really were a time of fabulous successes and really celebrating creativity in a way. The Australian Designer Collection started then, and they were bringing out the supermodels in conjunction with companies like Weller Hair Care, and so we had these girls in our midst to dress. So it was so exciting. It really made us feel like we were part of the global fashion world. And talking of global fashion, of course, you've been involved in what we have here, which is one of the premier events, the L'Oreal and then Virgin Melbourne Fashion Festival, which puts our local brands pretty much on a global stage. And I remember back in the day, and I'm not sure exactly when this was or if you were participating, but I know that you've participated in these shows since their inception, being on a train. So once you bought a ticket to this show, you got a train ticket and you didn't know where the train was going. Then you got off at a warehouse location, and sure enough, the headliner in that show was supermodel Linda Evangelista. So I was then, probably a young, maybe 20 years old, maybe not even. That was quite a while ago. Were you involved? Do you remember that? Yes,
Were you
I do.
involved back then?
Yes, I was. And I remember that vividly, thinking it was great. Even the designers, we didn't know where it was. So I was on the train with my celebrity model, who happened to be Kimberly Davies at the time.
Yes.
And we couldn't get chauffeurs or anyone to drive her there. She had to get on the train with everyone else. It was top secret. It was an amazing show.
Those were the days, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Now, one of the things that I think is really unique about what Lisa does, this is a story of localised manufacture. So wherever you are, there's no reason why you can't sustain your business over a long period of time and keep your manufacturing local. Now, how have you managed this, and have you changed? Have you deviated from local manufacture over all these years?
No, I haven't.
Amazing.
I think it's a really important part of our DNA. We are locally made, and there's been times throughout those 37 years where it's been appreciated a lot and then not appreciated, and then European manufacturers better, and then Asian manufacturers better. And but I've always felt, to me, the importance of the relationship with my makers. And I've seen generations, starting with the Greeks and Italians to the Vietnamese, and I can't wait to see what our next lot of creators who are going to join us in this wonderful world of fashion with us. It's really important, and those relationships to me are really important.
I totally agree. And with our Aroma Baby brand, we actually choose to manufacture our packaging locally as well, and that helps to lower our carbon footprint. It means that we're not adding to pollution by using transport to import goods in the same way that you're not importing your finished garments. No. It's really important, I think, for sustainability long term.
And I've watched this discussion happen over the past decade, and I've thought, I've been sustainable forever. I will make things upstairs and bring them downstairs and put them on the shop floor. Like, there is no transport, there is no, and again with wastage, when you are using expensive fabrics and you are, making high-end product, every piece of leftover fabric will end up as a scarf or a trim on a top or something like that. So it's kind of, it doesn't have to be this big shift in, environmentalism. It's just common sense.
Yes, I totally agree. And talking about using up bits and pieces, I believe you went into fabric face masks over the COVID period while we were in the thick of the pandemic.
We did. We made some gorgeous matching face masks to our outfits, as many of my clients are women in business who either have to be front facing and they've had to still wear their beautiful clothes. So we've made the masks to go with it, but that was certainly a tough time. But again, the light in that was the support from my customers was amazing. I think every one of them bought a mask, whether they wanted or needed it or not. It was overwhelming, the beautiful support. Which really comes about from relationship building. It
certainly does. And on that topic of relationship building, another thing you do really well, which is I'm a big fan of, which is something I think is really important to business, is collaborating. Now, I've been at quite a few of your shows over the years, and one of the most recent collaborations that I saw was with a tattoo artist. So it sounds like an unlikely match, but it worked so well. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Oh, that was so exciting. And I think, being in fashion is exciting anyway, but when you work with someone from a completely different world, it just really, it just gets those juices flowing again. So I was at an art exhibition and was looking at Mayo's work, and he did a tattoo style calligraphy, and that calligraphy, the brush strokes were just mesmerising. There was something about them that just resonated with me. So I contacted him and asked if he would like to do a collaboration with me. He was so enthusiastic, and I didn't think he would. I thought he'd probably, I don't know, not really my demographic.
Well, it's an interesting offer, isn't it?
Yes. And so we worked together. We got on really well. We're great friends now, and it was such a wonderful experience for both of us. And he's incredibly well regarded around the world. He has a lot of Instagram followers, which I had no idea when I asked him to collaborate with me. So it's I love those kind of oddities coming together. I think that makes the best partnership.
Do you still have some of those pieces available?
I do. It happened just before COVID. So we didn't produce the whole line, but we've got some beautiful silk scarves that we produced with Mayo.
Just encouraging our viewers to actually pop onto your website and at least have a look at the idea of thinking outside the box for collaborations and the result of this remarkable partnership. And the website is
www.lisabarron.com.au.
Okay, so and another thing about collaborations, and I guess this is another example of building those really strong relationships and then being able to support each other, not only when times are tough, but just to promote your business and actually expand what you're doing outside your normal demographic. And I know you have something that's coming up shortly around a 5-star hotel in Melbourne. Tell us a little bit about that.
That's so wonderful. And again, I think after what we've been through in the world with COVID, etc., and everyone doing it tough, we are stronger together, and we are more powerful when we join our resources, join our friends together. So the Langham Melbourne has offered to host my Melbourne Fashion Festival show this year, which is really, really exciting. I love the hotel. I actually live next door to the hotel. And
very handy.
Yes, it is very handy. So we're doing a beautiful show to release my winter collection there. And with the Langham being global, I'm hoping it might be something we could do globally at some point.
Absolutely.
Take the show around to all the hotels and and see what happens, because that is probably the toughest thing at the moment, is trying to think about how do we expand out of our country and get some global traction and some business overseas.
Well, for those of you watching, we know many of you are in fact global, so hopefully you get to see some of Lisa's amazing work. Now, how can people view and purchase the product if they're not local? I know that you sell to some retail stores, and you actually have your own retail stores as well. Did you go into e-commerce? Do you have an online offering?
Yes, we do. We do, and we're actually in the process of upgrading that and moving to another platform just to enhance that experience. We found through COVID our online sales did increase, and it really it amazed me and surprised me that women, especially in the demographic that I look after and the kinds of women they are, that they did actually buy online. I was really pleased. So I think because fabric and texture is such an important part to me, we want to have a website that really shows that. So you can get so much information about the garment before you actually push that buy button. But we do sell internationally. We have clients all over the world that have bought from us in Melbourne, and then when I've been overseas and doing showcases. So I would like to see that grow. And I think with e-commerce it's absolutely a possibility to get that growth that I didn't think was possible before.
Well, having been in business for so long, and myself included, there wasn't really e-commerce when either of us began. There was no Instagram and no Facebook and no other way of getting products rather than shipping them over to people. But people didn't know about the brands. So this brings me back to my next question. What about international showcases and actually taking your designer collection over to another country and participating in shows? Has that been something that you've been done, and has that been useful for building the brand awareness outside of Australia?
I have. I've participated in some of the early trade missions to China. I think in 2008 was the first Victorian trade mission to China, and that was fantastic. And it was probably a little experimental. We were seeing how it was going to go, how it was going to work. I've also done one in the Middle East too. I think the logistics of actually either setting up a shop there is too difficult. But I think now with the advent of e-commerce becoming easier and much more user-friendly for the consumers, I'd be very open to perhaps doing trade shows overseas just to engage, to see what could happen. I feel like I'm open to any opportunity, anything different, whether it's a collaboration with a tattoo artist or whether it's a collaboration with someone offshore.
And I love that. I think that that's part of keeping a business alive and fresh long term. It's really important to keep digging and looking for those points of difference and ways that you can reach new consumers. I would imagine having a business for a couple of decades that you've got customers who perhaps now have their daughters purchasing your products, and they would know the quality and the fabrics, they would know the fit. So it makes it really easy to purchase online. Is that true?
It does. It certainly helps, but I still think when we are looking at higher end price product, although there was a great article written I think by Melissa Singer in The Age on the weekend about the high end price dresses are here to stay and get more and more, and often if and they're limited in the world. So I think with great e-commerce platforms and the detail that's put on them, then I think that that area is going to grow. Absolutely.
So with a whopping 37 years in successful business, what is next?
Wow.
Do you have plans?
No, I'm pretty open to just flowing. Surviving COVID was the main plan for a while there.
It certainly taught us all to flow a bit, didn't it?
Absolutely. So I think I'm just in a phase of obviously being better at what I do, looking for the next collaboration. I think when you're creative, it's constraints certainly make creativity blossom. So I'm probably feeling the most creative that I have for a long time. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I agree with you there again, that the creative freedom that you need to actually have that creative thinking time and actually develop new products and new strategies is part of actually longevity, isn't it, in business, certainly for businesses that are 10, 20 and 30 odd years old.
And a good team.
Yes.
I have an amazing team around me that, that is what is so important, is everyone's on the same page, everyone is so committed and believes in what they do.
It is really important to actually gather the right team around you that are on the same page, that you share the same mission. So there's a few fantastic tips for our viewers on this episode today. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us. And that's another episode of Women in Trade for you.
Think about the clothes you're wearing, the food you're eating, or even the furniture in your home. There is a story and history associated with every product you've ever bought. Unfortunately, sometimes the workers who make your products are subjected to terrible working conditions, are not treated fairly, or the manufacturing process is harmful to the environment. There are many forms of modern slavery and damaging production methods, but it's up to us, industry leaders and the consumers themselves, to take a stand so that we can contribute to a healthier planet and to changing the lives of everyone involved across the global supply chains for the better. Ethical Trade Alliance enables buyers to make informed choices on all of the products they purchase.
Welcome back to another episode of Women in Trade. Now, joining me now and continuing our fashion theme is Jane Wei. Jane is the founder and creative director of Privilege Clothing. She's an expert at what she does. She's pivoted through COVID and she's going to share her story with us today. Welcome to the show, Jane.
Nice to see you, Catherine.
Now, first of all, please share with our viewers what led you to starting in fashion. I know you had a background in finance, so what happened?
I think that's could come from my mom, And when we were very little, actually, mom is just such an inspirational woman for us. So back to 60s, now you know my age now.
Oh.
Back to 60s. And so there isn't a lot of clothes to choose from. So, and, I still can remember I would only have new clothes during Chinese New Year. So, and because I have an older sister, and I always have my older sisters, we call it hand-me-down things,
I have to say I was lucky. I was the eldest of three girls and my sisters got my hand-me-downs.
Oh, well, yeah. So, but I'm lucky because I have a mom actually who know how to make old clothes new. It's a lot of incredible stories, and watch mom to how to cut, and then because hand-me-downs, normally the fabric is being already ruined a lot. So how she cut part of it, and then become incredible, clothes, which make me feel I always the stylish kids in my neighborhood and also school.
What a wonderful feeling to have growing up as a young girl.
Yeah, that's right. I think, all girls love pretty clothes, And I remember a lot of comment even like getting from teachers and the students. They always saying, "Oh, Jane has a marvelous mom, and look how she dressed." Actually that wasn't new, because they know probably only last for a few months and then the fabric is gone.
Yes,
I think it's good. Then I have next new things.
Absolutely.
So watching her, I think she's really my like a role model and inspired me a lot. So I think that was always in me, and I say, oh, when I come to Australia, and then I think that's where my probably passion lands. Yeah.
Right. So what did you actually study?
I study finance. Yeah,
Okay.
It was so different if you're talking fashion, finance and fashion. But I think when I came to Australia, I was only 23 years old. And, that time I think I really just want to explore the world. And I dreamed that one day I could travel freely. So, and also I interest in other countries' culture, and I like to know more depth. So I feel that also play very important part of me and bring my passion out, and also support my business is because my business mainly sell to all the local people, So that's why, by understanding the culture, I think it support my business a lot, because I don't feel even my language not that great, not that good, but I don't feel have distance with my customer. Actually, I feel they feel the same. Yeah.
Actually, it's a really interesting point, because where I am with Aroma Baby, we do a lot of export to different parts of Asia. And I also have a passion for the culture and like to really dig deep. And I feel that cultural knowledge does help to build a bridge.
That's right.
And it does connect you to your consumer. That is really interesting to hear.
Yeah,
so you've made this transition from studying finance to running a fashion business.
Yeah.
Did you launch that business with a view of being online, or were you wholesaling? How did you start, and what were you doing when you started?
And that time, actually, we started wholesale, And really, I think when you start a business, I think any opportunity you will take. So I think when we started, we have people interested in what we were doing, providing what the fashion line was there to put in front of them. So, and then they started want to collaborate with us. So I remember many of them has a chain stores. So then we become start from a wholesale. Yeah. Because my background wasn't a fashion, but I think it's good I always feel a teamwork is very important. So then we start employ like a professional people work with us. So then we really, I think our wholesale business was fantastic, is because we always forecast like 6 to 8 months ahead. So we always, show the ranges and then collect orders, then we produce. So when the production come in, we basically 90% deliver it out. So
it was pre-sold.
Yeah.
So you're reducing your risk.
Yeah.
You're pre-selling your season's collections.
That's right.
And that's a really smart way to operate.
Actually, also it's good. You always can forecast your next year's, what business like. I mean, so far so good. Every year it's increasing. Season after season. So it was quite lucky, having all those people support me all the way along.
Yes. So look, it is so important to have a team that you can trust, and a team that are experts in their fields. Yeah. We can't do everything as we grow our businesses. That's right. It's so true. Yeah. Now, what year did you actually start your business?
1993.
93. Yeah. Wow. So this is your 28th year.
Yeah,
My goodness, right. That's amazing. Yeah. And when did you start your e-commerce business, or was it always there in the background?
No, back to 1993, that time, I don't, the computer, all those new technology, not even there. So we're more really doing you see people, really face to face. Of course, we have an agency all around Australia and New Zealand and some other country as well. So, but it's more like hands-on things, or see customer. You get orders, get sales among your network.
You obviously, over 20 years, you are building your brand's reputation. You've expanded and you have not just one brand, you have several brands catering to different segments in the market.
Yeah.
And then you launch into e-commerce, which is working directly with your own customers who've become loyal customers over 2 decades.
Yeah.
So what happened then? How did e-commerce change what you're doing?
Okay, e-commerce we seriously take on was only about 4 or 5 years ago. So actually back 10 years ago, we already have been asking to do e-commerce, but that time I sort of rejected. It's because we have a large customer basis for wholesale side. I don't feel it's right. Things to do for me also do e-commerce, with wholesale.
Because you're basically competing with your own customers who are the retailers.
Yeah, that's why that's the things we don't feel it's right things to do. So then we hold on until I think another 6 years after, which is maybe 5 years ago, and even the customers started asking us, saying, these days, you need to get on and also promote your label online as well. So it actually was a customer actually pushing us. So that's why then we start. But I think because we have so many years in the business and we have so many people love our collections or our garments. So, and literally when we put it online and we work with the bigger players, not only our own online. So we build our online, but mainly we work with the online big players. So we very, very quick, I think every 6 months after, and we're already taking off. So then, just first start from one label and then 4 label all on, and then just incredible actually the growth was
fantastic.
Incredible. Yeah, that's right.
So you've really seen the whole kind of industry come full circle from, starting off as a wholesaler and selling to retailers in the traditional fashion, excuse the pun, to becoming it's almost driven by your own customers, an e-commerce store, and still providing product to some of the major fashion online sellers.
That's right. Yeah.
Did you want to tell us who some of these online stores are?
Yeah, we're doing quite a lot with the Iconic. Yeah, they are sort of number one really fashion online store, and because then they can focus on their marketing, and to be partner with them, actually we learn a lot and also benefit a lot too, and we have quite a number of others too, but I think I would say main Iconic probably we did, I think we good match. A lot of others I don't feel was that good match. So I think it's important you choose online who you work with.
Yes. And
then actually during the last year, so 2020, we even have overseas like Singapore and also Malaysia's the biggest online store also approach us too. So, but of course, I think it's just not quite good time to grow too fast. It's I think these days I think we should just slow down a bit and analyze where businesses should go, and also your products line too. So because the COVID tells us things changing.
I think it is important, that's so true, to actually stop and take a breath and have a look at where your business is, where you want to go, and spend some really important time strategizing and planning instead of just being reactive to the market.
That's right.
So I guess some of what you did was reactive, but you were already set up online. So when COVID hit, you were well prepared to take advantage of people wanting to shop online and only being able to shop online as well. The choice was taken out of their hands.
Yeah.
So during COVID, did you do anything differently? Did you notice any changes to your online business?
I think a business acumen is very important for business people. And actually, we didn't know 2020 would have these big things happen, you know. So in 2019, I think for every business, we feel every probably 7 years, you should analyze your business and also have a new strategy in place. I feel by 2019, I did feel something is coming, and or myself need to lift my game up. So that's why I think we then restructured the overseas company, and then that make us actually well prepared when COVID-19 pandemic started in 2020. So then we are actually, it is by managing overseas, restructuring overseas part of business management, and did give us peace of mind. So we feel we will control the situation, and actually the online business was increased incredibly actually.
So actually the effect for you was that your sales increased during the pandemic?
That's right, yeah.
Because of your capabilities that were already in place to take advantage of the online boom?
Yeah, that's also, of course, we made the right decision at the right time, of course. But in March, we actually see the things starting. So we say we can feel also all the boutique, and they start panicking as well. So we can see we don't want to, because we have a good relationship with all our boutiques, wholesale part of customer. So we don't want to just push them, to buy more, because it wasn't even marketed there. So that's why then we feel we should just switch, more focus, switch the wholesale online to online mainly. So that decision was made quick enough. So that's why I think we spend more time focused on that. Even we have less staff members, but we still did it.
It's a different way of operating, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
And look, at the end of the day, a wholesale business, that your retailers, they were forced to close. So if you weren't thinking on your feet, you may be in challenges now.
For sure.
Jane, you are a mother and a wife. You are a business owner of 28 years. What's next?
Okay, and next, I feel, I have grown so much throughout the years and since starting the business. So I feel it's time for me to give back, give back to to helping more others and also communities. So I actually have been involving a lot of voluntary work, and for past 6 or more years. So I really hope my creativity and experiences will benefit more others, and also help our society, by doing so.
That sounds like a wonderful plan to me. So we look forward to seeing what's next for Jane and Privilege Clothing. Thank you so much for coming in and joining us on Women in Trade.
Thank you very much for having me.
That's our pleasure. So on today's episode, you've heard from 2 fabulous female entrepreneurs in the fashion industry. One who's been going for more than 3 decades and has been involved in every fashion festival since its inception, and the other doing great things, pivoting from a traditional business-to-business, selling to retail business, to an online retailer. So join us next time for another episode of Women in Trade. You can watch any episode by simply downloading the app Import Export TV.
Think about the clothes you're wearing, the food you're eating, or even the furniture in your home. There is a story and history associated with every product you've ever bought. Unfortunately, sometimes the workers who make your products are subjected to terrible working conditions, are not treated fairly, or the manufacturing process is harmful to the environment. There are many forms of modern slavery and damaging production methods, but it's up to us, industry leaders and the consumers themselves, to take a stand so that we can contribute to a healthier planet and to changing the lives of everyone involved across the global supply chains for the better. Ethical Trade Alliance enables buyers to make informed choices on all of the products they purchase.